Welcome back to the Power of Perspective, the talk show with Sean and BJ. This is season 3, episode 1. Man, happy New Year to everybody. I'm looking forward to this new episode, this new season, and also to the quote-unquote new calendar year, man. How you been?
I'm doing well, Sean. I really can't complain. I'm very happy to be here for season 3.
Me too.
I feel very strong about the way we ended season 2, but I'm looking for bigger and better things this year.
Yes. Well, you know what, man? I mean, I'm glad that you're feeling good. I'm glad that, we have our viewers back, and prayerfully we get some new viewers. But let's just get right into it, man. As I always say during our sessions, you brought us another incredible topic. So how about you just introduce this for us?
Yeah, today's topic is about the exterminator. And I know all of our viewers out there is probably sitting back thinking, what exterminator is he talking about? Not necessarily the one that looks for rodents, mice such as rats, raccoons, roaches, etc. I'm touching on the exterminators that we need in our own personal lives. Sean, sometimes, when we're dealing with our clients and when we deal with people in our own personal lives, we say the saying, don't sweat the small stuff. Well, in today's topic, I'm going to talk about mice people. Not nice people, mice people.
Mice people.
Not necessarily a threat, but they can multiply. They can start to breed different issues towards your ways, such as envy, jealousy. Pick one. Certain type of addiction or just negativity. One of the things that one of my old partners used to tell me when I was back in college, Sean, was, you want to know something that negative people have in common?
What?
They stick together. And there is no impossibilities because they're negative.
That's a good one.
They stick together.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think that today's topic is very prevalent because we're in a new calendar year, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, regardless of title or profession, or just in their own home lives. We need to get rid of some of our small problems.
Yeah, man. I know that whenever I had read over your blog, and I hope that you talk about the blog, we're going to add up with the video, but it was, your blog just continue to get, just so much more impacting and powerful and intriguing. And I think that one of the things that you said in the blog was that, and I'm not sure if I'm jumping the gun, but one of your clients, I guess, or one of your friends was experiencing mice problems in a home. And you had said that it was symbolic of, you had said that mice really fear beings that are bigger than them, stronger than them, and smarter than them, right? But they're small problems, and it was symbolic, you said, of like little things coming into our life. So I might not be doing it due diligence and explaining it right, but can you explain that area of your blogs? I find that very interesting.
Okay, well, to make a long story short, I did have a friend who had some mice problem. I don't know if they were moles, mice, something in that nature.
They was a rodent, right?
They was a rodent, and if anybody knows me in my own personal circle, they know that I'm afraid of mice. So I can definitely relate to this issue. But when the individual brought the issue to me, they said, I'm putting traps out. I'm not a dirty person. Some of us in the urban setting know this word. I'm not trifling.
Right, trifling, man.
That's a throwback.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those individuals who don't have my house put together. So I can't understand why these daggone mice keep coming into my house. And, they had bought all of the things from Home Depot. They had done everything that they were supposed to do to take precautions from these rodents entering through the cracks.
Yes.
But due to the weather conditions, and it is brutally cold here in Pittsburgh around this time, I had told her that, maybe you need to take some time and look at this as a learning experience.
Yes.
And then she went a little further, like, I prayed about it. What is God trying to tell me? And I had told her that, sit back, wait for it. So she had caught a mouse, Sean. And I said, before you dispose it or, throw it out, look at it. And, she thought I was crazy. And I said, look at it. Look at it in its eyes. And hopefully I'm not getting too graphic for our viewers out there, but this is a real life story. And I said, when you look at a mouse and you examine it, we don't need to cut it open or nothing. But you see how small in stature it is. You see how harmless and to a certain degree it is sad because it's a life that's lost.
Yeah.
Even though it's dirty and unsanitary, and you don't want them to multiply in your home. So she said, well, what is God trying to say to me? And I said, maybe God is trying to talk to me, to talk to you, to tell you that, you don't have to sweat the small stuff. You're actually bigger and stronger than that being. And most important, you're more smart.
Yeah,
you're smarter, than that mouse.
Yeah.
So I use that in my day-to-day activity, and I said, you know what, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to write about it.
You see, what I like about that, because as many of our viewers know, as you know, I'm a big fan of symbolism. I talk about, I probably brought up Dr. Caroline Miss's name so much in our shows. People, like, man, does he read anybody else? But Dr. Caroline Miss, who's a medical intuitive, created a term called symbolic sight. And what it is it's your ability to use your intuition to interpret situations and symbols in your life, right? So something even as mundane, and probably cumbersome and or knowing, like having mice, you go look at that situation symbolically as you did with your friend, and you can extract so many different life lessons from it. And I think that one of the things that I wanted to add to that was that you had also said within your blog that sometimes problems are seasonal, right? And that also made me think about the holidays, right? Holidays are seasonal. They come around one time every year, right? And a lot of people don't understand that, even though, like, take Christmas for example, right, or Thanksgiving, these are holidays where everybody comes around and everybody's very happy. But for some people, holidays bring problems. They bring problems, right? So it's like little mice coming into your life, and sometimes not even mice. Sometimes it's like dragons. You know what I mean, coming into your life. But what I'm trying to say is that it's the nature. When I read the blog, one, I really, really loved the intentional element of symbolism that you use, because so many people don't understand that, God speaks sign language, and most people don't understand the signs. So that symbolism piece was very big.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And everybody can relate to issues. You just brought up seasonal.
Yeah.
The reason why I wrote about seasonal, because obviously I was dealing with something in the moment, but mice normally want to come in when it's warm and where they can multiply. Yeah. Well, I did some twists and turns in my own brain, and I started to think about it, Sean, where I said, you know what? A lot of our issues are seasonal.
Absolutely.
And believe it or not, there are people that are irritants that are set in your life.
Right.
That are there to multiply.
Ooh.
Spread seeds of negativity, spread seeds of hate, spread seeds of dysfunction, distractions, anything that can throw you off of your path. And as you said, God speaks in sign language. I couldn't agree with you more, because when I was talking to this individual, again, I'm terrified of mice. So I'm giving her advice that I truly didn't look to execute my daggone self.
Right.
So how can I give her that type of advice? But after I did, she tried to give me the credit, and I just said, that's just how things work out.
Absolutely.
But I want to tell our viewers that we can all relate to that, right. And before we go to break, I just want to touch on the exterminator portion. So where does the exterminator come into play? Well, the exterminator comes into play because after you ask the person to get the animals or the rodents or the irritants out of your house, there are things that you're supposed to do after that person leaves. Or after that individual leaves, the exterminator. Maybe you do need to patch up certain things in your house that you thought was safe. Well, what could be your safe space could be your own personal journey or your own just well-being. There are things you need to patch up so that you don't keep having irritants come in and seep and breed and spread negativity or whatsoever.
Right. Man, well, with that said, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to probably add my piece to that so we can talk about more of the problem, but definitely more of the solution. This is the Power of Perspective with Sean and BJ. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Power of Perspective, Season 3, Episode 1. Sean, before we went on break, I had touched on the word exterminator for this significant of this show, and I had talked about how exterminators are used, obviously, in the home setting to get rid of irritants, mice, rodents, rats, whatever the case is, bats. Get it out of your house. Well, before we went on break, I had talked about how our own home could be our body. It could be spiritually, emotionally. It could be something that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis where we need to get rid of it. But just like an exterminator sometimes comes, he gives you or she gives you information. They may give you advice. Well, maybe you need to stitch up this board, or maybe you need to seep these cracks, or buy this disinfect, or buy this spray. This will keep away the bugs. And sometimes we need our own personal exterminators in our own lives. Like, okay, I helped you out today, but if you don't watch yourself, this person can become an irritant.
Right.
This person can spread negativity.
Right.
This person may end up being a moocher.
Right.
Or this person may end up trying to hurt someone in your family.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely agree with that. I think it goes without saying. I guess my response to that, besides agreeing with it, would be that, when you go to your mechanic, right? And the mechanic will say to you, now look, you're going to spend some money. This is what the problem is. You might be able to get away with this for maybe another, month, maybe month and a half. But if you keep ignoring this problem, X, Y, and Z could happen. And what happens is that people tend to think that, oh, I got time.
Definitely.
I can ignore for the X amount of time. What happens is that you think that nothing is going to happen because ain't nothing happening, right? Whenever you go to the doctor, they say no news is good news, right? So nothing happens to your car. You think, oh, well, this is cool. He said a month and a half, but I've been driving for like 2.5 months. So everything should be cool. And then you don't pay attention to some of the things that you should be doing. So to your point, I think that I don't really have anything to say in regards to more additions to what you said. But I think that in addition to what you said, people have to take that information and actually apply it. Right? You can know all of that, but if you don't apply it, it's not going to be any use. One of the things I like to say about information is that, people always say, well, I love to learn, BJ. I love to learn. Well, you got to love to apply what you've learned more than you do learning it. So everything that you just said is definitely true. I agree with it, but now people have to start taking this information and really making it applicable in their lives.
And they have to prepare for the next season.
Yes.
Now, if we're staying on topic with exterminators, one season it could be rats and mice coming into your home. Next minute it could be bats, and it could be stink bugs.
Right.
Or a couple years ago it was Al-Qaeda's. Right. You have to prepare. You have to. There is people in your lives telling you information that you shouldn't blow off. Exterminators, mechanics, doctors. Those are some of the professions that you should pay attention to.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but then people, right to your point, and then people will say, whenever people are ignoring that and they're not doing what I said, then they're not applying the information that you just said, they'll start complaining and they'll start blaming everybody else for it. Like, oh my gosh, like I keep meeting all these horrible men, or I keep meeting all these horrible chicks, or like my job is X, Y, and Z. Like everybody's just coming at me. Well, is it really everybody coming at you? Or is it your boundaries are a little bit weak? Have you not patched these holes up? Have you not done what the exterminator has told you to do? And now there's different holes in your house and people are just coming through the openings.
And one thing about mice people, you can't see them all the time.
This is true.
Just like mice, the real rodent, the mammal, the little one that comes and sometimes you don't see, just leaves droppings. There are mice people that do this in our lives on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
They may come and just spread a diss track.
Right.
For those of you all who are fans of hip-hop, they may drop a diss track to you. They may hate on what you have on one day, and then they may come the next day and try to dress just like you, trying to throw you off base.
Right.
Or they may say things to your loved ones to distract and to seek and destroy. And the next thing you know, you're like, okay, I didn't see this coming. Which leads me to our last topic before we went on break of season 2. You don't have any vision. I'm not trying to mesh the two together, but the majority of our shows, Sean, I don't know if you agree or disagree, some of them actually go into the next one. They correlate.
Yeah, it's cyclical.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. So with that being said, mice people, you don't always know, but if you have an exterminator in your life, it could be your father. It could be some spiritual being. It could be, whoever. It could be your friend. It could be the guy up the street that's telling you, you have some crap with you.
Right.
And you need to clean yourself out. You need to clean your home.
Right.
Well, that's the actual exterminator who comes in to work with the rodents. Yeah. But there are people in your lives who are telling you, as the person, you need to leave that person alone before things get too chaotic.
Well, with that said, how about we go on our last break, and then let's bring it home with some more information and talk about, the power of symbolism, and more discussion of the exterminator and how we can help people become better exterminators in their life and also pay attention to the messages in their own life. Sound like a plan?
Oh, most definitely.
Please stick with us, and we'll be right back after these messages. Power of Perspective, episode 3 with Sean and BJ. BJ, one of the things that I wanted to add to your blog piece about symbolic sight, because I feel like I'm a symbolic master. I can find symbolism in anything and everything, and I try to. Just because symbolism is so helpful. This whole idea of the exterminator, pretty much every show that we have in some way is about symbolism. How can you extract lessons from, ordinary, mundane things in life? And one of my favorite quotes from one of my top philosophers that I like to read about, Epictetus, he talks about how people get upset, about the events that happen in their life. You're bringing up the idea of the exterminator and how there's mice people come into your life, mice things may come into your life. And Epictetus says that, it's not really the events that make people upset. It's really how we view them that makes us upset.
For sure.
Right? So it's kind of like a paradigm shift. Something can happen to you in your life and you can become upset about it, but when you make a paradigm shift and you realize that it's how you view it that's really probably causing you to be upset, it shows you that you have more kind of control and autonomy over how you choose to handle that situation forward. So one of the things that I'm saying here is I'm not saying that people should get apathetic and people shouldn't care about having mice people in their life, that people shouldn't care about trauma that happens to them in their life. But if you can deal with the situation, if you can exterminate some things, then go ahead and exterminate them. However, there's some things, like we said, that are seasonal that you're not going to be able to exterminate ongoing because they're going to keep coming back. I think the term I used earlier was seasonal. So you're going to have to learn how to deal with certain mice things that come into your life, because they're going to go away. You'll kill them for X amount of time, but later on they'll be right back. So you have to develop the resilience and learn how to deal with things. So based on those two ideas, do those two ideas apply to any of the idea or your own philosophies about this connection with exterminating things?
Oh, most definitely. And when you had touched on, you becoming your own exterminator, I had mentioned that in the blog.
Yes.
That the young woman that had brought the issue to me, I said, sometimes, you just have to look in the mirror. You already exterminated.
Right.
But, sometimes I tell people that, God could be teaching you conditional trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to keep throwing around the word, I trust this, I trust that, until you see something drastic happen in your life, and then it's like you lose that trust. Well, in this case, we're talking about one little simple mouse, but maybe that was her test to see, like, can you do it? Can you make that happen? Just sit back before you call the exterminator, put some traps around, and then see what happens. But in our own personal lives, I think we are, we're all subject to this. We all can become conditional with our trust,
right,
until something happens, and it's like you keep going over these same phases, like, okay, God, I trust you so much. And then something bad happens, and you're like, you already been through this before.
Right.
Well, in this case, with the exterminator, we're already telling you that when it comes to mice people, some of those issues are seasonal.
Yes.
And you have to build conditional trust.
Right.
Don't
like
be,
that.
Remember that this was a season that happened in 2017.
Right.
Well, I don't expect that that individual
right.
to proceed to come at me
right.
again in 2018.
Right.
Once the weather starts getting crazy,
right.
I'm going to have to bring her back to what happened last year. You do realize that your house is warm. Maybe there's things good to eat,
yeah.
so they're coming. So prepare for it. And in our own personal lives, Sean, maybe the mice people are attracted to you and I and other people because we're warm, loving people.
Right.
They feed off that energy.
Right. There's an idea, I believe it's in the Eastern philosophy, that, they believe that or at least some of the spiritual teachers from that perspective that I've learned from, they believe that every light being that they call it, like a quote unquote good being, a good person that is birthed here on earth, there are 7 negative dark energies that are born with that being, just to neutralize that one light being, right? So as you talk about, who you may be attracting, if you're quote unquote a good person, again, I don't really believe in good people. I believe in decent people. But if you're working towards goodness and lightness, then of course you're going to attract some of these dark energies, because they're bloodsuckers, they're spiritual vampires, and you have food. You are food. Right? You are food, and because you are so much of this light, they want some of that, so they have to literally eat away at you, right? And as you talk about this idea of seasonal, one of my favorite trees, BJ, is the pine tree, right? My wife hates the pine tree because in our backyard, they're all around our house, and they leave needles everywhere. They kill the soil. They're very acidic, but something about the pine tree, I love it. And one of the symbolic extractions that I've gained from the pine tree is that it's one of the only trees that does not wither no matter the season. Right? All the other trees die, but the pine tree, snow, rain, hail, it stays its color, it keeps its position, it holds its strength, it doesn't wither. There could be snow all over it, but it doesn't wither. And I feel like that's kind of something that I've taken from the pine tree, probably a connection that I have with it, because I do believe that no matter who comes into my life, mice, people, whoever, it's just like, I have that resilience. Like I don't wither. And it doesn't mean that I don't get stressed.
Right.
I do get stressed. I do get sad. I do get emotional, but I don't wither. And also to your point, sometimes problems are in the benefit of our life.
That's what I was saying.
Yes. Problems are in our life let me say it better. Problems are in our life for the benefits that come as a result of how we solve them. Right? So it's not just a problem. Like, the benefits really of problems are at the end of the problem or in the process of it. I remember 50 Cent one time talking about after he had got shot, he had said that he was so afraid to go outside. He would look through the bushes. He just became fearful of everything. Then he realized, what? I'm going to have to start, instead of being scared of the problem, I'm going to have to move towards it. I just got done watching The Last Dragon. I think
Bruce Leroy.
Yeah, Bruce Leroy, man. He said something so deep. He said something like, safety is the place. What did he say? He said safety is in the place. Something about the safety is in the middle of danger. Like, you have to go into the middle of a danger to find safety. So just to give people some type of encouragement that, it's not always moving away from the things that you have to exterminate. Exterminators have to actually approach the problem.
Most definitely.
So
I mean, that's part of their job. But to our viewers out there, you can become your own mini exterminator with your own problems. We might be coming off redundant but it is essential to your own life. I mean, from the president to the United States to a gentleman who might be starting his first job as a janitor, there's going to be small problems that you have to adjust to.
Right. There's
no getting around it, but it's how you react to it. And the most important thing is realizing that there will be another one that's coming.
Right.
When it comes to mice,
right.
One of the things that exterminators will tell you over the phone or whenever you first reach out to them, one of their first responses is, "Oh, there'll be more coming." There'll be more coming. Well, again, I have to give God all the glory for this. But when it came to my heart to write the blog, there's a lot of things in my life that I can totally relate to. That's why we're bringing it to our viewers.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're dealing with maybe some financial problems, but if you just push that off to the side, now you're dealing with a whole bunch of voicemails, which can become an irritant to you. And then next thing you know, you got to take time out of your day to pay all these bills. And all I'm saying to our viewers out there is, please be advised that if there's one small problem coming, chances are there's another coming, but you have to take your own precaution. And that's what being noble is, knowing how to deal with all kinds of different obstacles and trying to set up different traps so that whenever these mice issues come into your life, you can know what to do. And more important, when you hear them go off, it's like, okay, time to go get another trap. You don't catch one mouse with one trap and then be like, okay, that's it.
Right.
Chances are you need to set up a couple around your home and outthink them.
Yeah. You know what? I did not prepare this for the show, but it's making me think about it. The more we talk about mice and exterminating people, there's only 2 bad boys, right? The movie?
Will and you talking about Will Smith?
The actual movies. There's not Bad Boys.
Oh yeah, they're working on the Bad Boys 3.
Okay, they've been saying that for
yeah,
like
they've been saying that
5,
since we was in high school. But as of right now, there's Bad Boys 1 and 2.
He said they've been saying it for 15 years.
Yes, sir.
But if you remember in Bad Boys 2, right, the scene where Martin Lawrence and Will Smith had to go undercover. And they went into Johnny Tapia's.
Oh yeah.
They went into Johnny Tapia's house when he was having a mice problem, right?
A rat problem, to be exact.
Was it a rat problem?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you know,
it was rats.
Rats got the long tails, right?
Yeah.
All right, well,
it's a little bit bigger too.
Yeah, a little bit bigger, a little more daunting. But it was crazy as I think about it, and as we talk about symbolism, because of all places, the rats went where the money was, right? The rats went where the money was. You think money, you think value, you think worth. And one of the things that I'm extracting from that is that Johnny Tapia didn't want this little problem to turn into a big problem that would eat away at his worth. Now that was his financial worth, but we can symbolically equate that to your self-worth. You know, and then Martin Lawrence's character also, like, remember he was so scared and fearful of the mice that it was causing his whole being to like change. He didn't have any emotional intelligence. He was scared. He was becoming frantic at these little rats, right? So I got to say that sometimes, you know, and Will was Mike Lowry, as always, he was very calm, very smooth. So sometimes in the state of you going through these little problems or whatever size they are, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be fearful. But after a while, you know, you have to really start to gain some type of calmness in the storm so that you can be able to deal with this. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't think that we could talk about, you know, rats and mice people without bringing up that scene of Bad Boys.
Oh no, man! And then you took it to a whole nother topic when you said to remain calm in the storm. I mean, for those of you all out there, the viewers who do study scripture, one of the best stories that was ever told in the scripture was, you know, when Jesus told one of his disciples, "Ye have little faith." You know, they wouldn't step out on that water in the storm. So when you said that, my mind started trickling into thinking like that's what it comes down to. One little mouse or one little rat can't run you out of your home. Right. This is your space. Right. This is where your children may be. Right. This is where your business and your finances, where you pray and meditate. Right. And you're going to let one thing run you out. You must be crazy.
Right. You call that your home. Like, you know, we talked about the exterminator coming to the house. You equated it to your personal body. Remember, you know, the ideas that we talk about in well-being. You having 8 bodies. You know, if you really don't do an optimal job at taking care of your well-being, imagine what your home, your temple, your whatever body that you want to equate it to, all of your 8 bodies. Imagine what your 8 bodies will look like if you don't pay more attention to the problems in your life.
And for each one of the bodies, whether it's spiritual, financial, your physical, and the list goes on, there's a mouse for every one.
That's what I'm saying.
And then guess what? The rat comes and outdoes the mouse, and then if you don't take care of that, what do they say? Snakes eat rats. Those are all, symbolically speaking, all of those are negative creatures.
Right.
I don't look at them like that. I believe they all have a purpose.
Right.
And
that's good.
Symbolically speaking, you know, a lot of these negative people and mice issues that we have around us are to help us become stronger.
Right.
Like I had touched on this, Sean, about conditional trust.
Yes.
You know, it's one thing to just keep saying and mouthing, I trust myself, or I trust God, or whatever sentence you want to plug in there. But when stuff goes down, you keep repeating the same tactics to the point where, you know, you're just doing a lip service. You don't have that conditional trust. And I think that when you're dealing with mice or any type of issue in that nature, one of the biggest things that you must remain is learn from how you got rid of it. And pay attention to the details, whether it's getting traps, talking to a person, a brother who may help you to get through that situation, or a family member, or more important, if you just sit back and pause. Maybe you need to listen to this thing navigating your crazy house, or in your house. Maybe you need to listen. Don't let nothing run you off like that.
Stillness, man. Well, I guess, you know, some of my closing remarks, you know, would be in regards to equating how this, I think at the end of the day, for me, it all comes back to just well-being. Both of these ideas, symbolism, well-being, also the Exterminator. I really want to encourage you all to go to Amazon and read the description of my last 2 books. The first one will be The Language of the Few. It's very saturated in symbolism, symbolic sight, and it just teaches people how to extract the different messages that are around them in their life, and also the ones that are within them. There's always a message. Carl Jung says that every situation has an unlimited amount of different meanings, and if you're living a meaningless life and you're not paying attention to that, you may be missing out on some very powerful information that can take your life to the next level. So The Language of the Few is one of them. And the other book that I'm very excited about, I'm very, very happy with this book. It's called Unconventional Stress Management. Unconventional Stress Management and Resilience Coaching, the portal to authentic happiness and optimal well-being. We talk a lot about the 8 bodies. This is a book that is very unconventional, very atypical, in teaching people really how to develop the philosophies and ways of being that will really help you deal with problems in your life, whether it's mice people, whether it's dragons, whether it's yourself, whether it's yourself, which is sometimes the biggest problem in our life. And so go to Amazon, check those out, read the description, and get one of them for yourself. So that's pretty much what I had, man. BJ, what final remarks did you have for the people?
First things first, I do challenge all of our viewers out there today, if they get a chance to read the blog, how it goes hand in hand with our show today, and this is where the idea came from.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say, I'm not necessarily, I don't get caught up into the calendar years and, making New Year's resolution, but I do challenge everyone that it is a fresh start and we all have to survive in this society. So, let's start off fresh. I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to making more shows.
Absolutely, absolutely. Stop saying, some of you need to stop saying that you're looking forward to what 2018 is bringing you. Start being more focused on what you're going to bring to 2018. So BJ, this is another great show, man. Another great topic. I'm really excited about the rest of the season. So we encourage you all to come back. We don't ever like to really tell y'all, the exact dates that we're going to be putting the show out. Expect the unexpected. But thank you all for continuing to be a part of the journey with us, be a part of the Perspective community, and also allowing us to be a part of yours. This is the Power of Perspective with Sean and BJ. I'm Sean.
This is BJ Tench.
And we shall see you next time. Expand your perspective. Take care. My pleasure, man.